Hi everybody, Will here from Rekall Consulting, bringing you another episode of KubeKatch live from Chicago, KubeCon 2023. And I'm joined by Neil Cresswell from Portainer, a fantastic startup from New Zealand who are solving a big problem. And I'll let him explain what that is. So we've got two questions. And the first question to you, Neil, is what is the actual problem that you're solving in the developer community?
Okay, so Portainer is a tool set that helps you deploy and manage your container-based applications on any container platform anywhere, on your laptop, in your data center, in the cloud, at the edge. Our whole goal is to reduce the cognitive load on developers by removing their need to spend countless hours learning how to write the ins and outs of every single YAML file, how to manage infrastructure, how to triage applications in complicated container platforms, and do so in a really, really simple way. So we take away a lot of the mental burden of managing containers at scale.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, we actually witnessed this in a live environment yesterday in a training seminar that Neil ran to a group of, I would say, newbies to deploying clusters in Kubernetes. And I understood it. And to anybody out there that's trying to deploy clusters in a small scale, a large scale, you've got to get on Portainer. You've got to be downloading this. You've got to get into the Git and see for yourself that it is actually a silver bullet. Some people might think it's too good to be true. It is actually legit. So go and check it out at portainer.io.
Millions of downloads, millions of users.
Over 2.5 billion downloads, Portainer. So, there is some kind of legitimacy behind that. So, as part of the KubeKatch series for Chicago, we are taking questions from the previous person who's been on, and that previous founder asked the question, would you open source your technology? What would you say if someone was to say, we want you to open source your tech?
So our tech is open source, and it's open source for a couple of reasons. The first reason is fostering adoption. So you can either spend a lot of money on traditional marketing, or you can make your product open source and let the community learn about your products and let the product sell itself, grow itself. And the second benefit is feedback on what's wrong with your product. A lot of people say you open source because you get free dev hours. That's not entirely true, but what you do get is amazing feedback on what's wrong with your product, what's wrong and what's right. So in regards to developing and refining the product and improving it over time, you can't get any better than an open source product. So would I recommend it? Yes, I would.
So it's a product for developers, built by developers, that's improved by developers.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, so the next person that's coming on to KubeKatch Chicago, what question do you want to leave to them? It can be anything you want, any question. It can be humorous, it can be serious, it can be something wacky off the wall. What question do you want to leave for the next person?
So I'm going to ask a question which is one of my biggest challenges, and that is commercializing open source, right? Because open source, it is associated with free. It's open source normally means freedom, not free as in beers, but everybody needs to make money for open source to be a viable business and a viable thing. So how do you monetize open source?
It's a great question. I think a lot of people are going to want the answer to that one. So Neil, thank you very much for joining us on KubeKatch. It's a pleasure to finally meet you face to face. I know we've known each other a little while now. And anybody listening who, again, if you're anything to do with containers, Kubernetes, deployments, reconfigurations, debugging, you've got to go and get this on board. So thank you very much for listening. Neil, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.